All right, I'm here with these two beautiful gentlemen on a Sunday morning, and as you can tell, they just got up.
Yeah, I look good. I don't know. I've been up since the crack of dawn. I've been building a fence and
what, in Minecraft?
No,
you
right.
guys look like you've been on a bender, but
we had a big day yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a couple of tough days. So let's get right into the album. I love the record, and the first question that I have to ask you guys was the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the title, which was Redneck Vikings from Hell. Do you guys see yourself as Redneck Vikings from Hell?
Yeah. So I think the goal that we had when we were doing all that, because this is spawned from a joke, and like all good, wonderful, beautiful art, it's spawned from just a goofy joke. But I think it's like accurate, because our first ever demo was called Odin Will Provide. It was a 2-song demo with the intro back in like 2011 or 12. And then we had One Chosen by the Gods, which is also very like Viking metal, you know, the tales of battle and glory and all that. And somewhere along the way, it became apparent that 4 dudes from North Carolina in the United States playing Viking metal is a really silly concept. Like it's like kind of dumb. But like you know, that doesn't mean that we don't like playing the music or anything. But it is a silly concept. These dudes that sort of came up in these southern cities. I went to the Redneck High School growing up, which was D.H. Conley. Everybody, the other high schools considered us the Redneck High Schools because we had a bunch of trailers that we took our classes in out the side.
Yeah, like literally my uncles race stock cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like late model stock cars, like out in the middle of nowhere. They build race cars and they race them at NASCAR sanctioned tracks.
Oh, hell yeah. And so the point of all that is like this album seemed like an attempt to be honest, like an attempt to mash up this sort of portrayal of ourselves that we've had for a while, where it's like, oh yes, ye old battle and glory, mixed up with the people that we actually are, which are like, to most of the world, some redneck motherfuckers from North Carolina, right? Originally we had this like sort of goofy meme track called Redneck Vikings from Hell that we were going to put at the end of Tarot as like a secret bonus track, but we didn't even have enough room on Tarot for all of Tarot because we wrote too much music on that album. That was like 72 minutes, and then The Magician was another 6 minutes, so that got cut. We couldn't fit it on one album. So that idea never made it to that album, but it stuck around, and then one of these days I had like that chorus from that song just pop into my head, sort of as is, like already finished sounding, basically. And whenever that happens, I know it's like, those are like the rare moments of inspiration where I'm just super grateful because I didn't have to do any work to get that chorus going. It just sort of sprang up. And then, of course, we did a lot of work polishing it and everything, but the root of it, the melody incorporation just came up. So yeah, I think we sort of are the Redneck Vikings from Hell. We get to tell our own story in that song, and we told it a way that I think is appropriate for who we are and what we do.
It's kind of funny because the song is like a story that's like a tall tale.
Yeah, it's a tall tale.
You know, and that's like a very like North American kind of thing, I think. Just having like these like tall tales of like weird stories of, you know, like Paul Bunyan or John Henry or whatever, you know, just like they're just like.
And then we're just throwing the Redneck Vikings from Hell right on in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only you threw all of that in there, you even threw a banjo in there, which to me gave the song a little bit of that folky southern twang vibe to the song, which played really well on the lyrics and it played really well on the theme. but a banjo. Whose idea was to throw in a banjo?
Yours, right?
Yeah, I knew it needed some banjo.
Yeah, you woke up in the morning, you're like, this song needs banjo.
Yeah, so
the bluegrass section was by accident. Jake and I were hanging out, and he was like, "Hey,
I've got this little." So the way we write all the songs is like we've got this MIDI track that's playing a zither. It's like a Chinese instrument, and it sounds really goofy, but I use it to simulate all the guitars when I'm just playing around in the computer. And I said, Donny, I've got this zither thing, and I don't really know how to translate it to like real guitar.
the riff was terrible.
It was awful.
It was
like
riff.
It
It was so bad. And I don't know, like we just grabbed like an acoustic and sat down, and then I just kind of like jammed the chords out on acoustic and kind of like played it like if it were like a
bluegrass song.
Like a bluegrass song, yeah, you know, like some Merle Haggard or something like that, like an outlaw country bluegrass or something like that. And but I guess that's folk music though.
Yeah,
that's
folk music. It's still folk metal. It's just American now.
Yeah. It's like I said, it has this southern twang to the approach on that track. Did you guys take a different angle when it came to putting this record together, in terms of the thought process going into it, how you wanted to create the songs, or you guys have pretty much a formula on how it's worked in the past, and that's the same formula you applied to this album?
I think the way that we approached it is similar in the sense that like Jake will hash out a lot of the song, and then Heinrich and myself will kind of like figure out how that's supposed to be a riff, or like sometimes Jake will be like, "Hey, this is the riff. You have to play this thing," and then I yell at Jake. I go, "Jake, this is impossible. I hate you." And then he goes, "Well, too bad." And then I find a way to be able to play it by using like an alternate fingering or something like that somewhere else on the fretboard where I wouldn't have thought of playing it. And I go, "Okay, well, never mind. It's possible. I hate you, but but yeah, a lot of things are also different."
I'd say a big difference in the approach on this one is we really wanted to make a bangers album, where it was like Tarot was this long themed album where you know all of the songs circled around this central theme, and they work sort of better as a unit. They work better as a whole album than they do as their individual pieces, I feel like. I mean, they're also good as their individual songs, but that one was this big picture sort of album, and this one we wanted to do each individual song as its own entirely contained little universe, right? And we wanted to try to condense them, because you know some of my favorite albums have been these bangers albums, like Are You Dead Yet by Children of Bodom. That would be like a good example. I kind of wanted to see if we could do something like that, like by writing a bunch of songs that are shorter and more dense, and like taking all these big grandiose things that we've done in the past, but like compressing it down into this more dense song, and then also keeping it all contained within each song, so that we have this sort of freedom throughout the whole album to explore like pretty wildly different things. And then of course, when you do a whole album like that, your great desire to do something really long and self-indulgent keeps building up and building up. So of course we wound up with a really long, like 11-minute instrumental track at the end to get all that out of our system that's been pent up over writing these shortened bangers, as it were. So that would be a big difference in the approach, I would say.
Yeah, one of the words that I had when I listened to the album, the first word when I finished the whole record that came to my mind to describe the album was unique. The album is very unique. Each song is unique in its own way, and then which obviously when you put every single song having a unique perspective, a unique sound, a unique approach, then the whole album becomes unique. Do you find that that's perhaps a good word to describe the overall feel of the record, unique?
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't want to be the one to like make that claim. But if somebody else makes that claim, I'm perfectly happy to go along with it.
Yeah.
I hate trying to be like, yes, my work is very unique. Yes.
Well, it felt to me like that because you guys, like you said before, every single song was a banger. You guys created songs that had really catchy and hooky choruses for the most part. Like it's just become earworms the moment you start listening to them. I wouldn't go as far as to call them radio friendly, because let's face it, the radio stations in North America will not play your music, or any decent music for that matter. But they have those capabilities. But they have those capabilities of the songs of being super hooky and catchy in the chorus. Almost like I said to you before we started recording, a little bit of a Glory Hammer vibe to it, where you pick up on that chorus and it immediately stays in your head and you can't get rid of it. Do you like that approach if you're creating shorter tracks and not those monstrous, long, self-indulgent tracks?
I don't know. I think we actually try to do it even with the longer stuff, because even Craft from the Creator has a couple of like hooks.
The hooky parts, yeah.
Craft from the Creator is actually a song where we borrow themes and ideas and phrases from other songs on the album. And like at the end of Goodbye, there's that piano bit. That's actually another part that we played on guitar at the end of Craft from the Creator.
There's a bit from Slave to the Riff that comes in early, and there's a bit from One Hollow Word that comes in
right in the middle of it. Yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, like the Sun, the Moon, the Star from Tarot has the big clean chorus that happens twice in the song. So I've always
recapitulation is the word.
Whatever the fuck he said.
I know. I was just going to say that's big words for a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so I think we've always sort of wanted to be catchy with the stuff. Like we want it to, we want the first time someone listens to it, they'd be like, yeah. But I think we just maybe have gotten better at it. That's all I can think of. I don't think I've tried any harder to be catchy on this one than the last one, but a lot of stuff has come out that way, and maybe it's just because we're better at it.
Yeah, and you talked about Craft and the Creator, that 11-minute instrumental closing track of the album. I think I heard, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, some Spanish-style guitars on that track.
Yeah. Okay. So
are those Spanish-style guitars? It sounded to me like they were almost like Spanish-style, like not folk, but that traditional sound of a Spanish guitar.
So that's the thing for me, is that like I think that different places in the world have like different ideas of what folk music is for them, like nationally what it is. You know, like if you come to like eastern and southern states in America, it's like, you know, like here we have bluegrass music is huge in Appalachian Mountains and stuff like that. You know, and then if you go elsewhere, there's blues, there's country. If you go to Cuba, you have Afro-Cuban music, you know, and that's kind of like, and that's actually a interesting kind of like thing, because Afro-Cuban music is something that I think traditionally gets mixed up with, people call it flamenco, but it's not flamenco at all. And really the only thing that's different is like the rhythm instruments that are being played really most of the time. But yeah, so the beginning of that is this thing that's kind of inspired by this Brazilian guitarist, Antonio Loren? I can't remember his last name now. But anyway, something that I remember one of my teachers from college playing when I took a semester of classical guitar, which I was not very good. One semester. I took 2 semesters of jazz guitar, 1 semester of classical guitar. I absolutely despised classical guitar, because you don't play, you play by yourself, you don't play with your buddies. I like playing with my buddies.
A lot of rules in classical guitar too, right?
No?
Yeah,
I guess so. I mean,
more in like composition.
They really rate you more on a competition level of like, you know, like what you're supposed to be doing with your hands and stuff like that.
Like how's your technique and shit.
Yeah, when you play jazz, just like whatever, the song slaps, let's go. Like, and I was kind of more about that, you know. Yeah, so the beginning of it's like inspired by this Brazilian guitar player, and there's this and then like the section that's like another section that has it in there, that's actually a part of Slave to the Riff that actually kind of brings it back.
Because we do it in Slave to the Riff too. We kind of go into that zone a little bit. Yeah,
not the very beginning, but like after it gets heavy and then it goes back to the acoustic guitar again. That part is from Slave to the Riff, and that's actually just me wanting to do more of stuff that was like from like off of Tarot, the Devil has that same kind of vibe to it in that one section for my guitar solo part. But I don't know. I think that like it's folk music, man. You know, in a sense, it's still folk metal to me because, you know, I ain't ever heard a horse write a song. So it's all folk music, man.
Yeah, and like you said at the beginning,
horse write a song.
Different countries will have a different definition of what folk is because the sound will be different from country to country, region to region.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
The like classic folk metal stereotype is that it's like Scandinavian folk music and metal. Like that's, you say folk metal and that's what most people think of. But
Right.
it could be any kind of region. You know, everybody's got their music. I mean, even metal is somebody's folk music. Like it's their you know, where they get together with all their buds and on, you know, celebrate it and shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I really like that aspect. And one thing that I didn't get an answer from you guys is who played the banjo on Redneck Vikings from Hell?
Oh, Wayne from Wilderun, Wayne Ingram.
Wow, nice little cameo.
Favor, we're like, Wayne, we need your help, man. He's like, all right, what you got? What do I need to do? I was like, we need some banjo. And he not only played banjo, he also played slide guitar. So like anytime you hear that sort of slidey, like, you know, that kind of stuff, there are a couple little sections of that. That's him too.
That shit is amazing. There's a few bands that use it, and I think it creates such a unique sound when you mix it in with a metal atmosphere around it.
Insufirum does it on Stone Cold Metal. It was sick then. Ben Take or whatever, they have a song with some banjo on it. Those are the only two I can think of right off, but they're both sick. I mean, they're both instances of it being used, I think, are pretty sick.
And now you guys. Trailblazing. Listen, my favorite song on the record is "Lean Into the Wind." So I really have to ask you guys about this song. I really like the symphonic aspects of that track. And when I was doing my review, I mentioned it that to me, this becomes a glorious symphonic death metal track. It just has all the condiments to be this really strong symphonic death metal track. When you guys were putting that song together, how did the idea come to include those symphonic elements into the track to make this track like really big, really heavy?
Well,
I think that's just the track. You're like, we're gonna write metal songs.
Yeah,
I don't know. We're still in this band.
But the symphonic elements, I knew. So Ben Turk from Gloryhammer did the vast majority of the orchestrations on this album. He did them for, I think, every song except Goodbye and Cycle. So we always sort of knew for as long as we had been on the project, I knew he was going to do something good for it. Now, what I do with that is sort of a similar thing I do with the guitars, is I'll build Ben sort of a skeleton. Usually, there were some songs he went in pretty blind, but this one I think I helped him out a good bit. So the intro for the song, where it's like that kind of frantic string bit, that one I had set up pretty well for him. I put that together on like 4 different stringed instruments. It was like a violin and a viola and a cello and maybe like bass and contrabass and some shit. Yeah. So I like heard that kind of happening with it pretty early on, and we have songs like Swamp Witch from our first album that were orchestrated not as well, but in a similar sort of way. Like Swamp Witch has that. We're playing these like really fast string skippy riffs. And all these guitar parts are doubled by a string section staccato playing all of the notes, so that gives this kind of like added layer of epic or whatever you want to call it, where
like
it's not just the guitar riffing on these metal things, it's all doubled by an additional layer of these like frantic string sections and what have you. And so that's kind of the instruction I gave to Ben on it, was like, was basically a skeleton that was like, I think we should follow the guitars a lot on this. Though we had these big sections sort of at the beginning of every verse, or like every 4 bars, where we would hit this big like movie trailer sort of low brass note. So dun, 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 burn, and it'd just be like a big like droning, like a movie trailer, you know, brass note to sound ominous, I guess. So that was a element that he knocked out of the park with that, building that. And then of course, he took our guitars, our fake guitars that we had sort of skeletoned out, and our fake orchestrations, and he took all that and lushed it out to an incredible degree. I mean, if you look at his project files, it's like strings and woodwinds and brass, and each of these sections is split up into like 20 of its own individual instruments, with like flute number 1, flute number 2, piccolo number 1, piccolo number 2, and he does all that shit. It's crazy. I can't keep up with it. We knew that we wanted to have a lot of symphonic elements like we usually do. Last album, it was Dan Muller that did it for us from Wilderun, and this time it was Ben Turk, and Ben Turk blew it out of the park. It kind of came together at the same time as the song was sort of being created too. Sometimes we can explain it as being like these very separate parts, like, oh, we wrote the guitars, and then we wrote the orchestration, and then we wrote the lyrics, but it's all going on at the same time. It's really a mess. It's awful. I'm terrible at keeping the process organized. It's all just sort of, everybody's like hammering away at it at the same time, and you know, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that at the end of the day we're gonna have like a barn and not burning pile of garbage.
I was gonna say like a big turd.
Yeah.
So with the album coming out May 1st, and us being in the epic situation that we're in with the whole world on lockdown, did you guys consider moving the date of the release of the album at all, or this was the date that was set, and this is the date you guys are going to release the album?
I would have been so mad if we had to move the album.
Yes.
I would be so mad, man. I'd be like, what the hell else am I going to do while we're all locked down? Like, give me something to look forward to.
There's nothing worse than sitting on unreleased music.
Yeah,
that's just like, it's the worst, because you have it done, you've done all the work, and now...
And you're like proud of it too. You're like, man, I think we did a good job. Yeah, and it's like, it's just like, well, nobody's heard it. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, you want people to hear it, be like, hey, check this out, but you can't send it out to everybody and stuff, and it's just like, oh man, it's really nerve-wracking and upsetting. You just, after a while, you kind of forget about it. I think when it gets released, I'm like, oh yeah, we did that.
Oh yeah, I forgot we wrote that song. It never really came up to push the album back, which I'm grateful for. Like, I guess the label could have said, Jake, we want to push this back until shit's going normal, and I would have fought back if that had been I would have been like, I don't think that's a good idea if that had come up, but it didn't. It never did come up. It was just like, no, we'll postpone the tour. Everything's fucky, but let's put out some music, because
people still need to listen to music.
Yeah. People still want to be jamming out to new stuff.
Yeah,
we don't want to.
That's something you can listen to.
And it's like something you can do. Like, it's not like we have to not put the album out in all this. Like, we're perfectly capable of putting it out in the current environment. So why not?
Exactly. And now the question is, the promotion side of it changes, because obviously you guys had the tour scheduled. You can't go on the tour now. You don't know when you'll be able to go on the tour. So are you guys thinking of other ways to promote the album? A lot of bands now, as you guys know, are doing like live streams, or they're doing concerts that they're pre-recording and then making it available to their fans. Like, are you guys thinking of doing anything along those lines in order to, since you can't tour right now, so you can do something for the fans?
Yeah, I think that, I have a lot more time to kind of like actually practice my video editing skills now, which are atrocious. My audio editing skills, good at that.
Your guitar playing skills.
But yeah, video editing, bad. But yeah, like I think we're gonna do a couple of little playthroughs and stuff like that if we can. We have a really cool thing that we did that's going to get released the same day as the album.
Oh yeah.
I think that's something that's going to be a really interesting thing.
Pedro, when does this interview go up?
It's going to go up the Monday before the album comes out. So April, I don't know, April 20 something. Here, let me check the calendar and I'll tell you. April 27th. The album goes out May 1st.
Okay.
We can say it at this point.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit. There's a video that's coming out on May 1st, and we were gonna do a video for Redneck Vikings from Hell, and we were gonna fly out to LA and film it with our bud Gerard, and then all this happened, and that got squashed. So then we were gonna do a video for Lean Into the Wind.
In our basement.
Well, yeah. Well, so then we were gonna do a video for Lean Into the Wind, and the video was gonna be like, we were all chilling in our house, and we were bored. I know.
We were gonna throw around a bunch of money.
Well, we were gonna have like Guardian playing on the laptop, like connected to a printer, and the printer is just printing money. and we were gonna be like smoking cigars and like lighting them up with money and like wiping our butts with money and stuff, and be like, man, I'm so glad we sold out with Guardian. This is the best day ever. And then the metal police were going to show up and condemn us to death for selling out.
And then we demand.
And so we were going to have a trial by riff, and then we were going to go down and play Lean Into the Wind in the basement. But that was going to require Tyler to drive up here, and North Carolina went into a lockdown where he can't even drive from Raleigh to Asheville. So that got squashed too. So we're on to Plan C. We've done a video, or we're in the process of doing it right now, and it will be almost done when this interview airs. But we've gotten some footage from some other band friends, also stuck at home, from some fans stuck at home. It was a very underground process, and it's all going to get edited together into sort of a compilation video for TMHC in, I guess, 4 days if we're watching this. If they're watching this interview.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes open for that. It's really fun.
That sounds exciting. I only have one more thing to run it by you guys, which is a very important thing in my opinion. The tour got canceled, but I just want to let you guys know the next time you're in Toronto and you need somebody to work the merch stand so you guys can go grab some food and do whatever, I'll do it for free.
Oh man,
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Champ, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely awesome.
Because last time we went to eat, Jake stayed at the merch stand. Then he couldn't get anything to eat because then it was time for you guys to go on stage.
Oh no, I got something to eat. I went and got some Taco Bell. I think I was good.
Oh yeah, there's that Taco Bell next.
Yeah.
No, but all of us, we actually went to a burger place that was really good. We actually had some.
Man, that's the curse, isn't it? Sometimes you just get stuck at the stand. But that's all right.
I was telling Evergrey about that when I was there with them, and I was like, this burger is good. But we found an Indian place that they knew of, like a couple blocks down, that was absolutely incredible. Probably the best Indian food I think I've ever had, honestly. So.
Wow. I'm not, even though my wife is Indian, I'm not a big fan of Indian food.
Really? Oh,
which is strange considering she is Indian, so I should probably like it, but it's not my big thing. So I just want to put that out there. Next time you guys are in Toronto, two things. First is, if you guys need a place to crash, you can crash at my place. There's some beds and some blow up mattresses waiting for you guys to crash. That's part number one, which is important. Part number two, like I said, if you need somebody to work the merch stand so Jake can go get a decent Indian food or a decent burger with the rest of the gang.
Or a decent taco from Taco Bell. Sponsor Taco Bell.
Free. It's free $3.99 just for you guys.
Hell yeah. If it's free for me.
That's what they say.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time today. All the best. Best of luck with this album. I think it's going to hit all the right places. People are going to love this record as much as I did. And by the way, I mentioned something before that I didn't mention now. On the last video that we did on the channel, I asked out loud, what kind of weed were you guys smoking when you put this record together? Because whatever it was some good shit.
It was the good kind.
I can tell. It really permeated onto the record. Let's put it that way. All right, guys. Best of luck with the release of the album. Thanks for taking the time. And stay safe out there.
Will do. You too, man.
Pedro.